On the agenda or pertaining to AEDC policies, programs, or services. As to items not on the agenda, an AEDC board may not discuss or take action on the issue, but may make statements of fact reciting existing policy, request an item to be placed on a future agenda, or may refer a question to staff. Any public comment?
Go ahead.
I think a couple things to hand out. Got, first, that's a letter returning 087 or 071 meeting, and then this is regarding a problem with your 087 notice. And then, Mr. Chairman, this is a list of all the projects that have problems with their public notices. That's an eye test for you. I can get you the electronic version if you're interested.
I'd be glad to know I've already read it.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Mr. Atkins, good to see you here. I assume you're leading the 071 meeting. I know John Atkins from many years ago. He was very helpful during the, basically opened up all the Underwood Law's books on the MPEB issue, and very solid lawyer. So look forward to him leading your discussion on 071. If Mr. Atkins is not leading your 071, Mr. Chairman, then that's not an 071 meeting. An 071 meeting is one that is a meeting where the lawyer cannot advise you in public without violating the Texas rules of professional conduct. If that's not the case, or if there's just a general discussion, as I talked about in my letter, general discussions among members is not allowed during an 071 meeting. And just so you know, that would be a criminal offense under the Texas Open Meetings Act. And I can share with you criminal offenses where those are found in the Texas Open Meetings Act. Also, the 087 meeting. I'm not sure who prepared this, but these notices are illegal. You can't, Mr. Carter, you can't go back to a project notice that you used previous to the time that the projects were approved by the EDC board, approved by the city council. These projects constitute over $40 million in public investment. The public's entitled to know what the status of these projects are. These are no longer, if you read the law, it says to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body, this body, has received from a business prospect. These are no longer business prospects. You're under, there's producer-owned beef is under an agreement with the AEDC to the tune of $11 million and 600 acres. CPMR, $20 million and 400 acres. They're under contract. They're contractual partners. They're no longer business prospects. The governmental body is no longer conducting economic development negotiations. You're under contract terms. So 087 no longer applies, and you can't go back into just because you want to hide some discussions, not you, but perhaps the staff or somebody else wants to hide discussions about the performance or some sensitive discussions or whatever, that the Republicans have to know. And that's why we don't hear things about what's the status of producer-owned beef, what's the status of CPMR, what's the status of, the plant ag systems. And plant ag systems, Mr. Chairman, was never publicly noticed. There was nothing in the approval for the AEDC board. The public was never notified that it went into a contract agreement with Plant Ag Systems. And you can search that. It's under if you look at Project 220903, that's all it was ever disclosed as. It was never disclosed as Plant Ag Systems until it went to the city council. And the city council had a notice that talked about Plant Ag System and the very interesting title that it goes by. It's a very strange LLC title. But so this is kind of compounding on problems we already had, and I applaud your statement that we can't just do things just because they're not illegal. We have to have the highest standards, and I don't think, Mr. Chairman, this is not in accordance with the standard that you want to set. And that's the end of my comments. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I'll try not to wear my yapper hat today. I'm going to get out my business card because I'll try to be positive here. Anybody else wants my business card after I talk? This is more about economic development in my business, and I won the Enterprise Challenge about 15 years ago, and I won $75,000, and I turned that into over $1 million. This year, we're projected to do about 2.5 million. And I think that the direction of the ADC should also be looking for people that are operating in their garages that could be a $2.5 million company. And I spend a lot of money here. We bring other companies here, and that's great. But a lot of these guys that get the money, they end up building their business and selling it, like Backyard Adventures and a bunch of other those companies. They grow and then they bounce. In a lot of places like Bell Helicopter, their profits go somewhere else. The jobs stay here, or they're here, and that's great, but the profits don't stay here. With me, the profits are here. And I've started 3 other businesses, and I'll probably make about 3 million this year. And I think that there could be another phase of the Enterprise Challenge to look for the guys that are still in business after, say, so many years and approach them with some sort of deal. Because, man, I mean, now back to the Yapper hat. If y'all had gave me $1 million, like we did the range, imagine what I would have done. 75K to now 3 million. That's 30 times. I could be at, and $1 million would be even more, so probably 60 times. We could be sitting here talking about a $60 million company. And my company is Drug Assistant, and it's all across the country. It's at major universities, Texas Tech, University of Iowa. There's a ton of them. The biggest healthcare entities in the country, like Parkland, uses it. And they've helped save them over. We're at $5 billion in cost savings for taxpayers, patients, and healthcare entities. $5 billion in savings. So that's all I got. And I think that there could be another way to look. Let's look for the garage businesses. I started in a shed in my backyard, a 10 by 10 shed that I built 30 years ago, and now we're gonna pull in $3 million. Thanks for your time.
How many employees you have?
Total, we have about 10, and I just hired 2 this week, and we just signed a multi-million-dollar deal. Like that's what's gonna double our revenue this year for Drug Assistant.
And they're all here?
The 2 that I just hired are here.
No, the 10?
Not all. Yes.
How many have in Amarillo?
No, I didn't do that math.
I was only 10.
Seven.
I figured-
7.
It's a great story.
All right.
Now, what's the Yapper? What's that?
Oh, the $1 million that went to the Yapper thing. That's what you gave us, the title.
Who did I give that to?
The people that show up and that.
That's not what I said.
Disrupt.
That's not what I said.
What did he say? You probably know the quote. He's smarter than me.
I was talking about Ford, actually, but I
Yeah, that's why I raised my hand.
He wasn't even here that day, I don't think, were you?
No,
No.
we had been conversing.
Okay, I thought I was the Yapper. Okay, I thought I was I thought this was the Yapper.
Well, if you wanted to have the Yapper.
It's kind of like the end zone crowd at the game. We're the end zone crowd. The guys that can't afford the tickets on the 50-yard line, that's us over here.
That'd be me.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. If anybody else wants a card, you're welcome to. And that's it too. Like, one last thing. Like, I said some of this at the last meeting, and man, this is the economic development. Somebody should have been tripping me at the door. Wait, give me your card, man. Let's talk about these millions. And nobody did. And just like right now, nobody's asking for my card, man. What's wrong? There's something wrong with that. I'm talking about millions of dollars. And I could parlay this into way more. I've done it. I'm the guy that this is what this place is for. It's for people like me. And nobody's asking for my card. A few did. I'll give you credit, but somebody should be, hey man, give me a card, man. We gotta talk. Let's talk about this deal you just signed. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
I call Mike Oakland Mike.
Pardon?
I call you Oakland Mike.
Oakland, Mike. Yeah, I'm from Oakland,
You
California.
told me you're from Oakland.
But I'm from California, but you have to excuse that. But my mom was from Pampa, Texas, and I moved back to Pampa. I moved to Pampa when I was a teenager. So I'm a Texas guy with a California mouth, and I'm sorry. But that's just the way I am, but I have a Texas heart, and I'll take a bullet for anybody in this room.
We'll take it, okay. Okay, any more? All right, Kevin gave me some sheet notes. Am I on number 3 now?
Yes, sir.
Kevin told me exactly what to say. Kevin, could you read the executive session?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this, what do you call this, a number?
071.
07, the first one's 071, and that's a consultation with your attorney. And that's where the attorney is concerned about you running into something that he cannot discuss in public without violating attorney-client privilege. And that's a conversation with your attorney, and only with the attorney, and not a general conversation. So that's where the attorney talks to you and answers some questions, but it's not a conversation among members. And then the 087 meeting is the business development meeting where you're supposed to be discussing prospects, business prospects who've either tendered an offer to you or you're tendering an offer to them or counter or whatever. But the last one is a legitimate, appears to be the legitimate one.
So listen, I think I would like to respond to your thing by saying this. I don't know all this, you know, so it'll take some work, but I would like to say in my tenure here, and I'm a month away from being out, like, I don't know, we'll see. But whatever the tenure is, like, I would say that, like, we want to get this right. You know, we just should want to get it right, and we want to get it right. And while I couldn't say I agree with this, and you got to be open that, like I'll have to go find smart people, smarter than me people, which is like a lot of people, to tell us, you know, okay, this is right, and some of it you may not agree with in the end, and you know, we'll start with John. And in fact, we've started a conversation, but I think I want you to hear me say that we're hearing you, and it may take a while to figure this out, but we're gonna pay attention.
Did I respond?
I would ask you to be productive. You know, in your. This is obviously a passionate thing for you, and that's fair. And you're wanting things to be done right. I would just ask you to, you know, to be.
Can I respond?
Yes,
Since you
sir.
addressed me?
Yes, sir.
The only reason I'm here, and I'm not working in my own business with my own clients, and I don't make as much as Mike, but pretty close, is that I care about the people on this council, and these are legitimately, Mr. Chairman, these are legitimate criminal violations. And so if you have not sat down and had some training on the Open Meetings Act, and I know you're very busy, and you may have, you're walking the peril, because you are the only one. The staff is not held accountable under the Open Meetings Act. Only the members of the governing body. I've been there. I've been in multiple 071 meetings with an assistant attorney general. Okay, and I know for the fact that I've gotten chewed out for having cross conversations and everything else. I've been in multiple 087 meetings. I know what those look like, and I know what they don't look like, and I know what illegal looks like. And I don't have to be here. I don't have to come up here on a cold morning to ask you guys or to warn you guys. The people I've sat down and had coffee with, people I've had friends with, to ask to warn you guys. This is perilous.
So here's how I respond. First, I would say thanks. You're telling me you're worried about me.
Yes.
You're looking after me, and I'll take this from here, and I'll, you know, I would just ask you not to make it about you.
How am I making it about me?
I'm not going to talk about that further. I would just encourage you.
Okay, well, that's
Don't make it
insulting,
about
but
you.
I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay, well, take it
How you
how
making
you
it
want.
about me?
Take it how you want, but if your goal was to look after me, I've been doing one.
Mr. Chairman, I texted you before the last meeting.
Yeah, you texted me a threat. That's what you texted me.
No, I said that the meeting notice was illegal. And that's what I
You
said. I
guys
said,
were gonna
please
call
don't.
off the first meeting that I was at, and that's insane. Like, I'm sorry, but.
Well, you chastised Mr. Carter for having a problem with the meeting notice, but I can't raise a problem with it?
Okay, you've been heard. Let's move on. that okay?
I'm not talking to you, you're talking to me.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Consult with an attorney on a matter in which the attorney duty to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act in accordance with the Texas Government Code section 551.071. In that discussion will be articles of incorporation and bylaws, and then deliberation regarding economic development negotiations in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act section 551.087, discussion regarding commercial or financial information received from a business prospect and or deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect. Now you're gonna say what time we're going into executive session.
Okay, we're going into executive session at 9:16.
More violation.
To approve the minutes of September 24th, 2024, October 7th, 2024, October 23rd, 2024, and October 2nd, 2024.
Is this
December
because
2nd.
last time you said I haven't seen them, you'd like to look at them?
I've looked at them,
Okay,
I've looked at them and listened to them.
all right. All right, so we have a motion. So second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There will be another set of minutes from the board, the city council meeting. We didn't have those today, from when we had the quorum at the city council, so those will be included on the next meeting.
Okay, item 5. We're gonna discuss the EDC articles and the bylaws. So on what the council asked of me the last time we met was that at least they could have the bylaws, a version of city manager out there, our proposed version. He had a better word than me, let me say, recommended version.
On the articles.
On the articles, and our goal was they at least had the bylaws going, which I think we do. So I would suggest we first just discuss the articles and see if we can get to a version that we're comfortable recommending the city council consider in their January 14th meeting. And then our goal will be that we'll have something formed in regard to the bylaws by the 28th meeting. So, with any discussion or question, then we have a couple on the on the articles. Let me ask this, are there any topics about the articles that we want to discuss beyond the 5% issue? I mean, is it just that, or are there any others?
I think that was the main.
Howard or Deepak, did you guys have any others? Okay. So Josh, your question, your comment was, should we have the 5% buffer at the line item level? And I would say I wouldn't fight over that, so I could defer if you're not comfortable with that 5%, even though I think it's a good idea, so I could defer to you.
Yeah, I don't really see the need for it. I just want that 5, so.
My concern is that it would lend to, when the budget's submitted by the EDC, to arbitrarily put a buffer in there just in case. And when we're talking about the 5%, we're not talking about a 5% buffer on top of the budget number. It would just be inside a line item. And then I think anything that would exceed that, council would still have the ability to ask questions about it, even though they don't have to approve it. But they can still ask and say, hey, we see that your budget's 50 grand, you spent 51. What was that $1,000 or whatever? But it'd be after the fact, and it wouldn't impede the progress or impede a trip or whatever to exceed that. Would be my opinion of the 5%. If we're not asking for a 5% bump in the budget, just a 5% bump in a line item if necessary.
Deepak and Howard, where you guys have anything?
I agree with the dog, 5%, get up and down.
You okay with it? Howard?
I don't see that it hurts anything there.
Okay. So are you comfortable? Are you
Yeah.
comfortable? Like, I would still say if it's killing you, I could give it up.
I really just don't see the need for it.
So,
Yeah.
so are you asking the four of us if we kind of give the point?
What I would ask too is, do you see the point in, maybe if they don't have that they pad the budget a little bit? And then we get into the excess, right? Then we're like, well, now we have a little bit too much, and then if we're budgeted that much, the tendency is to spend it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just don't see like, I mean, how much is those operating budget, like 3 or 4 million? Right now, between those two?
Operating budget's a little under 2 million, or 2.5 million.
I just don't see how, I mean, I think with that amount of money, they can be pretty spot on with like their budget. I just don't see why they need the 5% contingency in there. They didn't have it before. Don't see why they need that.
But I think we're holding them to the line item. I think before they didn't have it, but they could, if I use the wrong term, they can move money between line items, which we're putting it into. Say, you're not doing that. Like, you don't get to move money, from one to the other in excess. And we're capping that, saying no more of that. Like, you can have your 5%, but you still got to stay under that 2 million. Like, we're not giving 5% over 2 million. We're saying in a line item, if necessary, if you bump over, but again, still with the scrutiny of the council to come in and go, dude, you're never hitting your budget. Like, what's going on? Like, that doesn't make sense. So I would think with the oversight of the council, you still have that, like, dude, you keep missing your budget. Like, what's going on? It seems like you're using your 5%, you're moving it from here to there, whatever, but not increasing the overall budget. That would just be
My answer, Josh, to your question, because it's a fair question. In fact, when I listened to you, the way you said, I just don't know that they need more. I think I agree with that statement. The reason I proposed it is that my experience, and maybe it's just mine, so it may not be how the rest of the world works, but I think most of the world works like this, is that budgets tend to be a little dynamic. You start with one and it's like, okay, here's our budget, but you just end up with things being a little different than you thought. And again, 5% is meant to be minimal, but just gives a little room to say, okay, we didn't notice that, it's gonna be much more, so, but again, I wouldn't die on this hill at all.
I understand. And I just look at y'all's budget, how y'all had it structured. I mean, if you look at the budget, it's all even numbers. I mean, it's 40,000 here, 40,000 here. It's not exact. Like in my world of budgeting, government, I have to be pretty spot on with what my expenses are going to be this year. I don't see how it's that big of an issue at all. Granted, what do y'all do? So if you have office supplies that come in at, say, $10,000 a year, how much more are you already adding on top of that for the budget? Because we all know those are even numbers, they're not pretty spot on, so there has to be some sort of already included contingency behind it up.
Well, we've not historically, used the exact same number as the year before. Let's say it's $5,872. We've not ever used that. We've used, say 6,000 or whatever that number, or 10,000 or whatever that number is.
So I think the town, I just don't see the
I'll give you another example, and then I'll quit. But you came in a couple weeks ago, Kevin, and something had broken. Some piece of equipment or something had broken. It was before you were going to the city council to make your next, and it cost you would have to approve it over the weekend, and it cost
Oh, yeah, we had, it had to do with, we had a switch out at the business park that broke, and we were not able to service GRI, and so we made the decision to spend, it ended up being, a little over $8,500 to fix that switch, but we couldn't.
So Josh, that's an example of something you don't contemplate, and you don't know that switch is gonna break, but if that thing takes you over budget, that line item by $2,000, do we wanna limit the ADC's ability to make those decisions and go ahead? And to me, that's you just can't predict every,
So,
you know.
okay, on the switch issue, did y'all have anything budgeted for repairs and
We
maintenance?
did not. Well,
That wasn't approved by the council yet, right?
that's correct.
So that's why they didn't have the money then.
Because the budget hadn't been approved.
Correct.
Had the budget been approved, you would have had that money.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, fair point. I didn't understand that. Okay. Okay, so are any of you guys opposed to taking it back to zero? Or- Especially, to me, you sit in one on both sides of this. You city council guys are really, to me, have the best insight in this, because you're the ones that's gonna have to put something on agenda and listen to Kevin say, I need $6,000 more here for this reason.
And it also helps let us know what you're gonna need that extra $6,000 for, you know, versus just, you know, we can't have it needed because now this is written, the transferring money over and whatever, and all of that. You know, I just wanna, you talk about being above board, I mean, this is our one opportunity, you know, and if down the road, we find out in a year, whoever, 2 years, whatever, that board figures out, this is not working.
All right, are you guys comfortable on the zero?
Yeah, my only concern is efficiency, but to Josh's point, I mean, if you use office supplies or whatever it is, you're not going off the previous number, $5,872. You're like, you know,
10% already.
yeah, if you're building in, it all depends on how the budget's being made to me. Like, if it's gonna be rigid like that, then yeah, we probably need 5%. But if we're being kind of loose with the budget, going, well, we spent, you know, 6,800 here, this year, let's go 74. I mean, you're building in that, and to me, that just goes on how you build the budget. So I know, I'm okay either way.
Are you guys okay saying it zero?
I'm okay either way.
Okay, so John, we'll have to reflect that. Are there any other parts of the articles that we need to discuss before we potentially agree on recommending that version back to the council? Howard came to a discussion yesterday and asked us questions. Anyone? John, anything? Okay, so do we need to make a motion to recommend that version back, or just?
No, yeah, just to put this in context, this discussion is in response to the council's request that the EDC develop articles that they're comfortable with. This process is run by the council. These are going to be articles, restated articles adopted by the council. So we don't have on the agenda
Okay.
to approve any certain form. Basically, the instructions you're giving me is touch up that part, and then we'll pass them back to the council for their consideration.
Okay. And then, they would like to pass bylaws on the 28th, and I think, are you guys ready to discuss the bylaws?
I got it, I'm not ready.
Yeah, we assumed you weren't be ready.
Yeah.
Howard stayed up all night to read them.
So you
Okay, so we'll have to have another time set to discuss.
Should we just,
We discuss
we
whatever you want.
discuss I wouldn't mind discussing what I would like added just based off that
Sure.
we got last night, but if that's something that, John, you can put in there, or
Yeah.
see what y'all's thoughts are on it, but, there's two things as far as on the bylaws, I think it would be beneficial to add in there, whenever we do posting an agenda, that we included all the backup documentation, supplemental documentation that goes to it, similar to city council is currently. And
So you're saying we put in the bylaws that, like, is that what this is, or is it something more than this?
So you have the articles and the bylaws. So in the bylaw piece, it basically explains kind of how the operation works.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but is what you're suggesting that be put in the bylaws a requirement to do this or something more?
Yeah, so you see the stacked papers?
Yeah.
We do not have this report, right? So theoretically, as a board member, unless it's sent through an email or whatever, our public doesn't have access to see all that. And so what I'm saying is, when the agenda is posted, have a packet of supplemental documents.
Is it more for the public?
It's
would you
both,
say?
honestly, it's for both, because, we didn't get all the stuff that was in there before the meeting.
Okay.
An executive
Is it-
still
In
wouldn't.
this meeting, the agenda packet would have included the articles and the bylaws and the minutes would have been included, not any of the project discussion stuff.
So it's both for the public and us, so the public's seeing exactly what we're seeing, with the exception of the executive.
All right,
I'm in favor of what it's saying. I'm
okay.
used to being on the city council for 6 years, and I got 72 hours ahead, I had the agenda attachments and all this.
Okay,
It's
some of
just
them,
reading.
some of them ones could do with that one.
I guess, sir, is it not a requirement? I mean, is that an ordinance that we're following by in the city? Or, I mean, is there not a requirement by the EDC to do it by 72 hours?
Just the agenda posting.
Just the agenda?
Well, we can do the agenda, that's no problem.
All, by law, we're required for this.
Right.
So it's no problem to do it, Kevin.
No, sir.
All right, that's easy. What else?
The only other thing, just for the public, as far as transparency, is that I've seen McKinney do it, and I like what McKinney does. They have like an actual whole dashboard stuff of where the projects are, they do job creation and stuff like that, but that's for down the road.
Is that on the website?
Yeah, McKinney's. But I think it'd be beneficial to have just a monthly EDC's expense report updated on the website.
John, is that more of a policy?
Well, and I was just going to clarify, Josh, you're talking about adding that to the bylaws, right? Because our agenda items
Right.
on bylaw updates.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Would that be a bylaw thing?
it sure could be. It certainly could also be adopted as a policy, but while we're in the bylaws and talking about the updates, it's appropriate to consider.
John, do you work with other EDCs?
I do, yes.
So do other EDC, you're saying,
Yeah, just an
put the
expense
expenses, like, so Kevin's travel expenses on the
Yeah,
website?
just a monthly expense report, so like Potter County, they do an expense report, and they post it on their website, and shows everything that the entire county's expenses.
Oh, so not at the someone travel trip level?
Well, it would just be their expenses, so if his expenses were $600 in travel that month.
It would just be an updated budget sheet, the financial that shows the expenses for the month for the EDC. Okay.
What do you think about that, John? Seems-
Well, I think the requirement should certainly be built in the bylaws that the board could consider when we actually have the meeting to consider
Are
adoption.
there
of
any
the
reasons
bylaws.
not to do it? Are there any, like, does anyone have any?
Down at the staff level, just a bit, workload that but that's not my concern for legal.
What you're asking for is no problem.
Yeah, it's being done already. Right, I mean, basically,
That's
it's
correct.
already there.
Yeah, and it's
All
gonna,
right.
it'll run, 45 to 60 days behind.
So John, you'll add those two things to a version and get it back to us?
Yeah.
Yeah. John?
Sure, go ahead.
I would just suggest like a requirement, like 1 year or 2 years worth, or according to the budget.
It would just be every month.
Yeah, just monthly.
Okay, anything else?
John, with the, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I would say that's all I have on bylaws.
So we'll have to have another meeting to work through the bylaws, private for the meeting.
And would we address, because we talked, John, you and I talked about this yesterday, but about the training of the board, or to make something to where the board, there's a packet, there's something that, because when you sign up on this board, it's a bigger deal than what people think. It's not just, I'm a volunteer, I mean, as you know, I think there's gotta be a packet, whether it's Open Meetings Act, they need to be educated and
I think they have
understand.
some stuff, yeah.
Yes, sir. We have an orientation packet. DPOC it went through orientation. We do that within the 90 days. Typically try to do it in the first 30 days. But by law, within the first 90 days, you have to do open meetings training and you have to do public information training within the first 90 days of being appointed to the board. But we have a whole agenda packet that talks about, our policies and procedures. It talks about the statutes. It talks about our articles, our bylaws. It talks about all that stuff. There's about 18 or 20 different topics that we talk about. And then typically we will take that board member around to all the pieces of property that we own to show them, this is the properties that we own. So we have a whole orientation session with those board members.
And so that happens every time.
That's correct.
Except for this time.
Every single time.
Except for this temporary thing.
That's correct. Yeah.
I don't think it'd be
And typically, I try to do that orientation with council
Yeah.
members as well. And I know y'all were just right at the beginning. I asked all of y'all, and I know y'all all were, it was right in the middle of budget season, so it's harder. So,
I think it's a great idea.
but if you want to put that in the bylaws, that certainly is a piece, but it's being done.
You can sit down with John or whoever the attorney is and say, like, this is 501, 504,
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
are the things when you look at, I'm not talking just like, here's a packet of papers like we gave.
Correct.
And I know that's not really,
It's usually a whole, usually a whole day is the orientation, or at least 6 hours.
a couple of days, probably solid for that.
Yeah, and the exposure that, somebody sign up on this board, and there's some exposure to them, they need to be aware of that, the decisions that they're making. And I don't know that, again, I don't know, coming from a position of ignorance, I don't know what you guys do over here, but I think that's imperative that they're aware of all that, and they can operate, you know what, and I'm out, I'm not doing this.
And that's been done for several years, way before Doug got here, so it's been being done for at least 15 years at least they've been doing
But I would say, review that, I guess, and look at it to see if it, does it include that, how comprehensive is it? And
Yeah, we'll get you, we can bring that back to y'all, let y'all see that next time, or y'all can.
Well, you should just send it to all of us.
Yeah, we can certainly send you the list of what's included in that.
Okay, are we done with the, update on the articles and bylaws? Okay, so we gotta work on our next meeting now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just put that placeholder in there, but I think with the discussion on the bylaws, that this body has to approve the bylaws. According to the bylaws, then we need to have a meeting before the 28th. And sufficient time probably to give council enough time to look at those and review those, so.
15th, 16th, 21st, 22nd. 13th.
do we not have the 21st already?
No, we can't, we've moved it to this one instead, but we can certainly do that, still do that 21st.
Yeah, like, I'm gone the 17th to the 20th.
I think, I mean, if you want to do this next week, there's time to do it.
I could do it on the 15th or 16th.
You go with the 15th, Deepak? Is 9 AM better or 11 AM?
I like, what about, what about you guys? Howard, you're the one with the tough schedule.
Well, I need to just see an eye doctor on the 16th at 8:05.
All right, we're talking the 15th.
This means I can do it.
Huh?
And that works for you, Josh, 15th?
I'm totally flexible on time on the 15th. I'll come anytime. It's good for you, Don.
Yeah, I'm okay. I've got a 10 o'clock meeting, but I can do something with that.
You sure?
Would it help you first thing at 11?
No, I'm good.
Hopefully this may not be too long.
Yeah.
So 9 on the 15th? Is that okay with you, Deepak?
Do we do 10?
Don't have the 10 o'clock stuff.
But I'm okay. I mean, I can, yeah.
I've got a 9.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, 10?
10 then?
10 on the 15th.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
So we'll have another revised vision of the bylaws.
Yeah.
3 days before that.
We'll get that to you before then.
I think we'll have it today or tomorrow. I'm thinking for John.
No problem.
By tomorrow, John's gonna have us an updated version. So then we'll have a week, a full week. Okay. All right, if nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.